Okay, so let's move on to our fourth learning objective, which talks about what are our four decision-making styles. Uh, People perceive and understand the world around them in different ways, and they respond to this type of information also in making decisions in a different way. So this framework over here organizes four ways in which we think and make decisions based on two things: our tolerance for ambiguity. Are we willing to tolerate uncertain situations, or do we not want to have those uncertain situations, right? Or, for example, do we, and the value orientation is, are we concerned about task and technical concerns? So if I'm an accountant, am I concerned about putting things in the credit and debit columns? I want to make sure all the calculations are right. Or am I concerned about how harmonious am I with other people and whether they're pleased or upset in making decisions? Okay, so let's take a look at these four more closely. A directive decision-making process, as we said, is more concerned about task and technical concerns, and there is low room for ambiguity. So the book gives an example of an air traffic controller, as well as I'm giving an example of an accountant. They are usually very concerned about task and technical concerns, so they want to direct airplanes into the airport, and there's low room for ambiguity and uncertainty. Decisions have to be made quickly, and there should no be ambiguity about where, let's say, the airplanes are coming from, where they're going, because it has a very negative repercussions for the planes and people who are in them. Same thing exists for accounting. You can't really tolerate any ambiguity when it comes to financial statements. However, people who tend to follow this type of decision tend to be more autocratic. They tend to be, I guess, more controlling over the situation, and maybe not very suited for long-term types of decisions like strategic decision-making and planning in the long run. If we look at then analytical is different than directive, that in that they have a higher tolerance for ambiguity. So they can tolerate a lot of uncertain situations. So people in the, let's say, higher level of decision making tend to follow this. So CEOs, presidents, they have to have a high tolerance for ambiguity. They have to really know, not really be certain whether the decisions that they'll be making will lead to the best course of action or not. They will try their best. And they will have to deal with tons of different types of information. So if you're an economist dealing with, should I raise interest rates or not, you have lots of information feeding from, or indicators about the economy, the price index, and so forth. But you're also concerned about, okay, am I making the best type of decision considering all of these technical issues, okay? The downside is people with analytical, and I tend to be very analytical sometimes, is that we tend to overanalyze situations. We like to look at all of the possible information about that. And sometimes you don't have time to do that, right? So when I'm deciding on my syllabi, I look up every textbook out there, look at all of the different supplementary materials that come with it, and decide on one, and then go back and decide on another, compare them. I take forever. So that's the analytic. But it's good in that it takes a holistic view of the situation before making the decision. On the other hand, then there are people who have a value orientation or of people and social concerns. They are more concerned with others. So with a conceptual type of decision making, these people involve others in long-term thinking. So these could also be people who are up higher in the hierarchy, are more suited for this type of thinking because they involve others in the decision making. So if you are the dean of a college or the CEO of the the organization, you involve lots of people in setting the strategic plan because you realize that everyone has different points of view and you want to get buy-in when it comes to your plan in the long run. Okay, so that's a very good one. However, the problem with it is that it tends to be more idealistic because you want to involve everyone, you want to make sure that everyone's point of view has been considered, and it's not always possible to please everyone or to reach the best possible solution because we always have constraints, as we said, like time, money, or cost. Finally, there are people with a behavioral approach. So they have a low tolerance for ambiguity. So they don't want any ambiguity when it comes to their decisions or the information that's available to them. And they are more concerned about people and having good relationships with them. However, people in this quadrant do not, I would say, like to confront others. And they try to maintain harmony across everyone, even if it's not good for the long run. So they will not confront someone who is doing a bad job or who is underperforming. Okay. So that wraps up, the different types of decision-making styles that exist out there. So let's test ourselves. Maria made a decision by considering available evidence as well as using her tuition. Maria is somewhat of an autocratic manager and took a long time to make the decision due to uncertain situations. Maria's use of evidence and style are more likely. Informing the decision and conceptual, supporting the decision and directive, making the decision and behavioral, informing the decision and analytical, informing the decision and conceptual. I think we have two which are, in this case, if you said D, informing the decision and analytical, because she is taking a long time. And she's trying to consider all of